All right, greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our post-Thursday night football game between the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. And already looking at the live chat, we have a bunch of comedians here. Yes, that was a very interesting game, to say the least. I mean, the fact that the thumbnail of today's live stream now is Javonte Williams, of all players, kind of speaks to what kind of a Thursday night football game we had upon us, with AJ Brown being a complete no-show. Devontae Smith absolutely just not, the Eagles offense just forgot how to throw the ball to anybody outside of Dallas Goedert and Saquon Barkley. Very interesting week one, but hey, this isn't something that's new. Every single year we have this exact same experience. You guys remember last season, Thursday night football? Isaiah Likely scores 28 plus points. Mark Andrews with a fat goose egg, and everyone's wondering what is happening. Travis Kelce, complete no-show, and Rashee Rice is tearing it up. We have this every single year, and that's just the nature of the beast. But again, everything will come back to its norm in due time. I hope you guys are doing well, and hopefully, of course, this Thursday night game treated you well, despite the fact that, of course, we had an hour-long intermission, of course, due to weather concerns. But all in all, an interesting Thursday game. I think the Dallas Cowboys were far more competitive than we anticipated. For those of you who had, a Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, you'll take those performances. CeeDee Lamb could have very easily tacked on an additional 30, 40 yards to his performance. Obviously a big game in itself, with the numbers that he put forth in a full PPR, half PPR. But other than that, an underwhelming game. Jake Ferguson, very close to scoring multiple touchdowns if it wasn't for Dak Prescott putting it a little bit off, the middle of his chest. Outside of that, it is what it is. What happened to AJ Brown? Well, I mean, it's very simple, guys. Did you watch the game? He didn't look in his direction. Very seldom did he took the ball and looked elsewhere. And then he tucked and run. That's it. I mean, it's very simple. It is drop Pickens. You guys are hilarious. I love it. Jahan Dotson is this year's Darnell Mooney. The comedians are out. You guys are so good. I love it. That's so funny. Anyway, for the next hour or so, I'm going to be answering fantasy football related questions. I know that many of you were wondering, hey, what's going on with Christian McCaffrey? I think we're going to wait and see as to how tomorrow's practice report looks in regards to his injury, because again, many of us are concerned about the calf injury that was reported as of today, as to whether that is something that we're going to have to worry about for weeks and weeks to come. Obviously, many of us who are familiar with the NBA, anytime a calf injury is mentioned, subsequently after, there's a higher likelihood of a torn Achilles. We're not trying to put it out there, knocking on wood, it does not occur, but Halliburton, Kevin Durant in the NBA Finals these last couple of years, I mean, this stuff happens. So we're hoping that Christian McCaffrey is just a precautionary measure rather than an actual calf strain, because that is the worst potential case scenario for many of us who are investors of the potential of McCaffrey here in 2025. Now, I'm going to answer a couple questions here. We saw that Alex sent in a super chat. Thank you very much, Alex. I greatly appreciate it, my good sir. So should I pick up Garendo just in case? I mean, Brian Robinson Jr. already has a very storied injury history himself. There seems like there is something in the water in San Francisco that just continues to force players to getting injured. Whether it's Kittle every year, whether it's an Ayuk injury, whether it's a Christian McCaffrey year-over-year injury, even prior to these players even coming to San Francisco, there has been some sort of injury bug over the years. The Jimmy Garoppolos, the Trey Lances. Anyway, in regards to the situation as a whole, I'm not too keen on picking up Garendo as of yet. I think I really still want to see that practice report tomorrow. If McCaffrey gets the full participation, then we're good. But once we get to a stage in which a limited, if not a DNP occurs, then at that point, I'm looking into potentially picking up Garendo as to holding him as the handcuff to Brian Robinson potentially going forward. Jose Rodriguez has sent in a question. Thank you very much, Jose. I appreciate it, my good sir. Says we have Mahomes, we have Bijan, we have Brown, Ladd, T. Higgins, Kincaid, DK, Diggs, Pearsall, and Chubb, Judkins, and Rashee Rice. I just traded Bijan Robinson and DK Metcalf for Achane, JSN, and Andrews. Thoughts? I mean, let's just think about it this way, right? Bijan Robinson is, a first-round draft capital, right? And DK Metcalf arguably is like a fourth or maybe fifth, depending on what kind of a format, how many teams, all that kind of jazz. Achane, in my mind, is a second. JSN is a third. Andrews is probably like a seventh. So ultimately, I think the value as a whole, I think it's equal if, in fact, you really desperately needed that Andrews play. If it's a full PPR, I feel more confident regarding it because I think in a full PPR, Achane and JSN are such difference makers to where it's worth it. Thank you, Jose. I appreciate it, brother. All right, we had a question from Salmon Salad who says, should I trade Omarion Hampton for Christian McCaffrey? Wow, that's a really good question, and I don't have an answer. I'm going to plead the fifth on that. I cannot objectively tell you what the status of Christian McCaffrey is. We just do not know. And until I see a report from the 49ers, beat writers in the area as to what exactly entails the Christian McCaffrey injury, the limitation, the calf, when did that take place? Is this something new? Is it on Thursday? Once I get more information, once I get more information, I'll have an understanding. But until then, I think this is something that we kind of we play it by ear. I'm not making any moves. Crip sends in a question. Says, I need 2 in a full PPR. Swift, Hall, Judy, Waddle, running back / flex. Swift, Hall, Judy, Waddle. In a full PPR. Okay, so there's still a lot of contingencies to fall into place. If Roschon Johnson is not active for that game against the Vikings on Monday night, which again, there's still a lot of time between now and then. Technically, a Thursday practice for a Monday night team is their Wednesday practice. So in this circumstance, I'd like to wait until Saturday to know for certain what the status of Roschon Johnson is. Assuming he's out, Swift would probably be one of my flex options there, and I'd also probably end up playing Judy alongside of him in a full PPR as the RB flex combo for this week. Let's see here. Okay, we took care of Crip. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. AJ Brown, LOL, just played against him. Yeah. So listen, I mean, again, this happens every year. We're all very much so, I would say experienced in the unfortunate happenings of a week 1 performance. If anybody in your league is crashing out, if anybody in your league is ready to sell away AJ Brown, please and thank you. I will be trading for them at a premium. We know what AJ Brown is. We know he's a potential top 10 wide receiver every single year out. So please and thank you to the managers in your league that crash out and want to trade him away. Absolutely, without a doubt in our minds. Let's see here. And as for like Christian McCaffrey managers that are trying to sell in a panic frenzy, same kind of idea. If you have, Brian Robinson Jr., then sure. But as of right now, until I get more information, I think it's I'm crashing out, Andrew. Yeah, let's just hope that it's not too much of a crash out. Again, it's week 1, guys. This is a marathon. We cannot crash out after 1 game of the season. Absolutely not. That would be, it's just too early. It really just is too early. But if anybody is crashing out on Christian McCaffrey and trying to move him in your league, like that Omarion Hampton trade that we just mentioned moments ago, if you have Brian Robinson Jr., I feel comfortable making a move of that stature. But if you don't have the handcuff, I think there's a lot of implied risk in regards to potentially trading for a piece as such, with so many questions still out there. A calf injury, we've talked about it. If it's something of any significance, typically what we have heard from doctors in the industry is 2 to 3 weeks of rest is required. So we may end up sitting in a position where McCaffrey don't even play this week. We'll have to wait and see. And the last time we had that, this time last year, McCaffrey missed week 1, and then what happened? The guy was on vacation for the remainder of the year. I'm going to start crashing out, guys. This is where you've gotten me. No, I'm good. Okay, anyway, let's see here. Ollie Gordon over Jaden Blue. I mean, the way that I see it, considering Jaden Blue, you know what? I'm actually curious, guys. After, I wasn't even paying attention to it. After Miles Sanders fumbled, did he go back into the game? I'm curious. Does anybody have a clear recollection of Miles Sanders playing after the rain delay? Does anybody remember that? If so, I'd like a thumbs up in the live chat just so I have an idea. Just curious. Niner handcuff, always the RB1. Yeah, I mean, you know what? You're making a point there. You're making a good point. Tan fam, what's up, brother? How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for the super chat. It says in a half PPR flex, DJ Moore or Pearsall. I would rather play DJ Moore as it currently stands. Thank you very much. Your second question, full PPR RB2, Pollard or Aaron Jones. I'd rather play Pollard there. Your next question, Metcalf or Garrett Wilson in a full PPR flex. I'd rather play Metcalf there. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Peter Lucas says, football-wise, his legs gave him a good game / fantasy-wise. Yeah, we'll take it. I don't need another CMC sabbatical. You're not wrong, Michael. None of us do. I don't think so. Yeah, so this is what I'm thinking. So I'm going to watch the game back later tonight because I want to go back and watch a little of that Cavante Turpin work just to see if he's even worth the potential waiver wire grab in a deeper league. I just want to kind of give it a look. But I'm also going to keep an eye out for whether or not Miles Sanders played in the second half after the fumble. Had he not played after the fumble, I think that opens a door for Jaden Blue to no longer be a healthy scratch come week 2. So someone who was asking Ollie Gordon over Jaden Blue, as of right now, the answer is yes until further notice, because again, a healthy scratch is as much of a death note as possible. So we're not really excited about that potential, but Ollie Gordon has the outside potential option of getting some workload this week against Indianapolis, seeing if he can get a couple touches here and there within the matchup. And if not, maybe even a bigger role. Time will tell. Alrighty. Steezy, what's up, man? Hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for the super. Says, how do we see Javante's role going forward? I mean, I think it was in full display with, first and foremost, the pregame indication at around 4 p.m. PST, or maybe it was at 4 p.m. Maybe it was, it was about an hour and 20 minutes before kickoff where they designated Jaden Blue as a healthy scratch right then and there. That designation is a confidence boost of the coaching staff and everyone saying, hey, we are so confident in Javonte Williams being our RB1. We don't need to have the rookie looming to get any looks. So that in itself is a declaration. So that's fantastic. Now, my question in my mind is, okay, well, considering how well the Dallas Cowboys offensively played against the defense that, again, yes, was without Jalen Carter, but man, what an interesting turn of events that was in itself. What an interesting Thursday night game. I begin to think to myself, can Javonte Williams, if he can maintain efficiency and he can maintain a role within an offense that is going to be significantly better than expected, can he be this year's Chuba Hubbard? Not in terms of efficiency numbers of a 5-yard per carry average and a 3.89 yard after contact per attempt, but the idea of, hey, everybody in the offseason was so hyped about the rookie, and when we're comparing Jaden Blue to Jonathan Brooks, can Javonte Williams in this circumstance be the Chuba Hubbard of the player that was such a low draft capital investment, but comes out into the season due to the hype of the backup running back and is a sneaky good play for the season to come? Time will tell, but it's very much so a confidence booster for those of you who have Javonte, that you now have a running back that is not only in the mix, but produced well enough to where I would even assume that the Cowboys coaching staff thinks to themselves, yeah, we don't need to trade for anybody. We don't need to be going out and looking for a Breece Hall, Alvin Kamara trade. We don't need to be going out and making those kind of moves. We just stay as is with the personnel we currently have on roster, which, again, I see why they haven't made a move. He played well. He did, objectively. Our offensive line was certainly moving bodies there. All right, let's see here. We had a question from Konopka, who says, start 2, Garrett Wilson, RJ Harvey, Pearsall, Travis Hunter. Great. Can you do me a favor? Tell me what your scoring format is. Once you tell me that, it'll be easier for me to get an understanding as to how we can navigate your league. Thank you very much. Carlos Z says, Andrew, happy new fantasy football season. Yes, a new fantasy football season with a bunch of pain and a lot of injuries to obviously speculate regarding. But yes, absolutely, Carlos. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm glad to, of course, have football back on the television. An exciting game. Obviously came down to the final drive, which I'm always happy about. Questions coming up. Sounds good, Carlos. Thank you. Javonte wasn't as bad as people think last year. No, he was. No. He was. There's no two ways about it. You go watch that film. Yes, he had a couple good games. You go watch that New Orleans Saints game in week 7 prior to the bye week. He had a monster game against New Orleans, but that's a terrible run stop defense. They were, you can move a literal, let's just take it easy. You could move a nice mid-sized vehicle through the gaps that the offensive line was moving in that overall circumstance. Otherwise, in a majority of the other games, incredibly inefficient. Especially behind one of the better offensive lines in Denver. All right, let's see here. I'm waiting for Konopka to send their scoring formats so that I have an idea until, there it is. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It says in a 12-team flex full PPR. Beautiful. So of the available options in a full PPR scoring format, I would lean towards Pearsall 1, Hunter 2, Harvey 3, Garrett Wilson 4. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Sammy, what's up? Sammy sends in a super chat. Sammy, that's very nice of you. Very generous. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. Says, hey, Andrew. Bizarre start to the fantasy football season. Yeah, the football season, of course. You know, that's every Thursday night game. Just wait till tomorrow night, guys. Just wait. Which I unfortunately have 4.6 due to Devontae Smith as my wide receiver 2. Let's see here. Anyways, should I keep Pacheco as my flex or switch to Egbuka? Depends on your scoring format. Let me see. If you have 4.6 fantasy points, based on the production of him, I'm going to assume you're playing in a half PPR. Let me just cross-reference that really quickly. Can I get this score to come up? Perfect. So tonight we had... Okay, all right. I'm getting every notification in the book. Why? Thank you, stats. Here we go. Eagles. So he had a total of 3 catches for, so you're playing in a full PPR with that kind of a format. So if you're playing in a full PPR, I'll take Egbuka there, Sammy. Thank you. Appreciate it, brother. All right, we had a question that came in from Mo Money, who sends in a question. Thank you very much. Mo Money says the following. Says, how's my team in a 10-team full PPR? We have Dak Prescott at quarterback. Unfortunately, of course, he got yoinked a couple touchdowns there, but hopefully you had an alternative option to play tonight. My wide receivers are Amon-Ra St. Brown, BTJ, JSN, and Worthy, and Odunze, Jaden Higgins, Wanda Robinson. I mean, that is a stacked receiver core. That is the best part of your team, and I don't even have to read the rest of your team. That consists of Kamara, Connor, Travion Henderson, RJ Harvey, Mixon, and Njoku. Yeah, quarterback is the weakest part of your team. And I think Dak Prescott's going to get better over time. So honestly, on paper, a very strong team. The wide receiver position, because of the full PPR format, incredibly valuable for your team. Amon-Ra St. Brown, BTJ, JSN, Worthy. I mean, honestly, you probably should ship a piece here to try to get some sort of improvement at quarterback, but time will tell as to whether or not you're going to be able to make a move of that nature. But I like the combination of having Kamara and Connor, 2 stud veterans that are going to be able to produce well early, and then you have Harvey and Henderson that are going to be able to, in time, take over. You have Mixon as a lottery ticket. You have Njoku that is early support. Again, that wide receiver core you have, I'm hoping it's a 2 wide receiver, 2 flex league, or maybe a 3 wide receiver league, so you can utilize all of them. Otherwise, it's going to be really tough to bench one of those 4 every week for the next 4 weeks here, or 6 weeks here prior to the Rashee Rice suspension, and Worthy getting that little bit of uptick of value. Otherwise, very strong team, man. Thank you. Dan sends in a question. Says, if CMC is limited or out, would you flex Pearsall over Egbuka in a full PPR league? Let me check my rankings as of earlier today on Patreon, and I can cross-reference where I currently have him and where I would eventually potentially move him in the event in which that takes place. So in a full PPR, as it stands, I have Egbuka as my 24 and Ricky Pearsall as my 26. In the event in which Christian McCaffrey is absent, we have seen from the past, especially last season, when McCaffrey is not out there, Garendo nor Jordan Mason got receiving utilization. So that spread out to the receivers of the offense and to the, the check down options of a Kittle, etc. Use check, all those kind of players. Use check obviously got a lot of that workload as well. But ultimately, yes, I would feel comfortable enough to where I think the offense probably sits in a little bit more of a position to where the touchdowns aren't guaranteed to the running back. There's not as much dump offs to the running back designed to where maybe Pearsall gets a little bit of extra of a uptick. But at the same time, you could even argue that the lack of McCaffrey lessens their offense's potential for moving the change and scoring points. So we could even make that argument. So as of right now, again, until we get clearer information, I have Egbuka over Pearsall, and by the time we get to Sunday, and once we know the situation regarding McCaffrey's calf, wow, that's scary. That statement in itself. Yeah, we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it, and perhaps if he's missing, then we can pivot. All right, we had a question. Actually, let me scroll back up here. We have to make sure Carlos Z sent in his question. I'm looking for you, Carlos. Where you at, brother? Carlos, I don't really see you in the chat here. Let me see if I can maybe Control F, Carlos. Yeah, Carlos, I don't see anything, brother. If you can go ahead and type in the chat, it'd be appreciated. Thanks, man. All right, until then, we'll continue on with a question that came in from the Investing Hut, who says, Andrew, 2-time champ here. Thanks, bro. What are your thoughts on Travis Hunter? Is he worth sending him off with some picks to try to get Egbuka? Okay, so first and foremost, when you say try to send him off with some picks to try to get a Buka, are you asking about a potential dynasty trade in this circumstance? If that is your question, I would rather just keep Travis Hunter as is. Next question that says, could Devontae Smith be a league winner? I thought Devontae Smith was a league winner last season, potentially. Obviously, he did not develop in that direction due to the injury that he sustained. Obviously, he was great in terms of the contributions he made when healthy, but it is very apparent that the Eagles' offense is still in a very much so run-dependent mode. They are not looking to air it out, nor are they looking to develop in that direction. So, is Devontae Smith a quote-unquote league winner? Maybe if it was 2024 and Kellen Moore was still the offensive coordinator, I'd feel more confident regarding that. But as of this current moment, from whatever today just provided, I wouldn't peg the wording of league winner with any of these players associated with that offense as of right now. Xavier sends it a question, says, I'm sick. I had Dak, CD stack, finding a new QB. Yeah. Listen, again, when we look at the upcoming schedule for the Dallas Cowboys, I don't think you need to be absolutely shifting away because next week they get to go against the Giants, which I think should be a better matchup for them. Then they take on the Bears, the Packers, the Jets, Carolina Panthers, Washington Commanders. I think you can still get away with playing Dak. Obviously, I didn't like him this week because I thought the Eagles defense was going to play a little bit better football than they ended up doing. But I mean, if it wasn't for a couple of those defensive pass interferences, we have George Pickens scoring a touchdown in this game, right? So, and of course, the unfortunate drops by CeeDee Lamb. We had the unfortunate drop of Jake Ferguson. There were many of opportunities there in which Dak Prescott could have scored touchdowns. But, just one thing, leads to another, and football plays happen and people don't score. But yeah, if you're looking for a new quarterback, hopefully somebody is available on the waiver that has a solid week 2 matchup. Just trying to look in that direction. Miracle Robinson says, tonight's game was rigged. Tonight's game was rigged. Oh, really? That's a bold statement there, Miracle Robinson. How about that? I would say that tonight's game was definitely a little bit there was a lot of theatrics going on. I will say that. As soon as the ejection took place, I was like, all right, what's going on here? What are we doing? Let's just play some football. Rogo sends in a question. Thank you very much, Rogo. Nice to see you. I hope you're doing well. So, what's up, Andrew? Good to see you. Thank you. How am I looking? In a 12-team half PPR, we have Jaden Daniels, Ladd McConkey, Jacoby Myers, Gibbs, Swift, Kittle, Pacheco, McLaughlin is my kicker, Denver's my defense. We have Geno Smith on the bench, which I don't understand. I don't know why you need a second quarterback there. Odunze, Shaheed, Strange, Dylan Sampson, and Mims. Yeah, I think everything except for the Geno Smith on the bench makes sense. Geno Smith just doesn't make sense to me unless you're playing in a 2 QB league or unless Jaden Daniels has an incredibly early bye week. And I'm pretty sure the Commanders don't have an incredibly early bye week, but I can confirm this. Yeah, they have a week 12 bye, so I'm not sure why the Geno Smith play is sitting on the bench. I'm going to go ahead and swap that out with anything that which I can potentially buy as a lottery ticket off of the waivers, and then we're going to keep it moving. But yeah, as it currently stands, half PPR, pretty strong team. I think, again, there's a little bit of a question as to whether or not Odunze or Myers should be that wide receiver 2 going forward, but hopefully this week in their efforts are going to be able to kind of give us an indication as to which way we're going. Otherwise, relatively strong team considering, again, the Gibbs, Kittle, McConkey, Jaden Daniels combo to start off your draft. Robert Wilson sends in a question. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate it. It says, would you flex Chubb, Golden, or Metcalf in a full PPR? I would like to play Golden this week. Yes, please and thank you. Matthew Golden's my preferred of the group. Hubert Ranks in the live chat was saying Kamara or Kenneth Walker week 1 running back. Depends on scoring format. If it's a full PPR, I'm going to be very comfortable playing Kamara, just without a doubt. If it's a half PPR standard, I could justify playing Kenneth Walker, but I still do have Kamara slightly ahead of him because I still want to see what the opportunity share of and running back split of Charbonnet and Walker is going to, kind of uphold within week 1's game. Gary sends in a question, says, Andrew, what the hell do I do with AJ Brown? You hold him. Guys, come on. Act like you've been here before. Please. Listen, a one singular performance does not dictate the potential of the remainder of the season. We have seen it on multiple occasions. You hold on to him and you just, you continue to start him. That's just how this works. One singular performance is nothing. Nothing at all. Now, if A.J. Brown does it for 10 consecutive weeks, I'm going down with the ship. Don't get me wrong. I'll go down with the ship. A.J. Brown's the kind of talent that I'm willing to risk it all for, but you have to hold him. He's far too talented. He's been far too good for fantasy purposes. And what the offense put forward tonight is not indicative of what they'll put forward going into the remainder of the season. So again, Don't panic. Just be confident in the fact that you drafted the right player. It's just 1 week. Alex sends in a question, says Zach Ertz for Garendo. I mean, it depends on if Ertz is going to be implied for usage within your lineup. Is he someone that is going to be consistently starting or rotating within your tight end? Let's say, for example, your other tight end is just throwing out a name, Jonnu Smith, right? Then at that point, I want to have both those tight ends to play matchups within a given week rather than hold on to the potential of a handcuff. That is the third handcuff on roster. For right now, again, I'm not really moving on picking up Garendo until I get further information regarding McCaffrey tomorrow afternoon. Probably around, 3, 4 p.m. PST, we'll have an indication as to what this 49ers practice looks like and whether McCaffrey's out there to begin with. So for right now, just hold. Stay calm. We'll be good. Ramsters90 sends in a question. Thank you very much, Ramsters. Appreciate it, brother. Says in a full PPR 12-team league, Trevor Lawrence, Neighbors, Garrett Wilson, Chase Brown, Travion Henderson, Ingram, DK Metcalf, Travis Hunter, Charbonnet, Bigsby, Jawan Jennings, Roshan. Thoughts? I mean, as a whole, I would like to hope that you have another quarterback on roster to be able to rotate, but I do like T-Law. Don't get me wrong. I think T-Law is, of course, fantastic. Last season, the final 6 games of the year, 18.5 points per game. He has proven that he can be a top 12 quarterback on multiple occasions over the course of his career for fantasy purposes. So when you pair him alongside of Neighbors, Chase Brown, Henderson, Travis Hunter, I think on paper you have a solid team. I think it's purely just a matter of let's see what they're made of. Can Garrett Wilson get the job done with Justin Fields? I mean, he did it with Zach Wilson, so why not Justin Fields? Is Henderson going to take over the job earlier rather than later? Is Travis Hunter going to be as implied in terms of the overall usage as I expect, which this week I expect him to play a crap ton of offense? He should be getting a lot of touches. Like if he doesn't come away with 4 or 5 grabs this week, I mean, then again, I was just saying A.J. Brown should catch the ball 5 times in this game, so you never know, but if he doesn't come away with that kind of a usage share, I will be incredibly surprised as to just how a Liam Cohen offense has functioned in 2024 with that Buccaneers. So as a whole, I think you have a very thin team in terms of depth on bench because Roshan's injured. Jawan Jennings is somebody that I'm not going to often play ahead of these alternatives. And you have a couple, I guess per se, lottery tickets. If the lottery tickets hit, it'll give you more depth. But until then, it's just really a matter of can Garrett Wilson get the job done as that wide receiver 2, or are we going to have to use DK or Travis Hunter as that fill-in and flex? Carlos sends in his follow-up question. Thank you, Carlos. I appreciate that, brother. He says the following. Says starter sit in a half PPR. We have Knicks, we have St. Brown, McMillan, Debo, Pearsall, Tillman, McBride, Genty, Walker, Henderson, JCM, and Bigsby Algier. Cool. Yeah, I think it's very simple. I mean, Knicks plays as your quarterback, very simple, along with McBride at tight end. Your 2 running backs are going to be Genty and Walker. Your 2 wide receivers are St. Brown and McMillan. And between your available options and a half PPR for the flex, let me see where I have Henderson, just real quick. As it currently stands, that's my full PPR ranking. Let me go to my half PPR. As it currently stands, Henderson, what do you have? You have Debo, you have Pearsall, you have McMillan's already starting. Yeah, so this is the way that I see it. It's either Henderson or Pearsall in the flex position. Depending on what the status of Christian McCaffrey is tomorrow, if McCaffrey's out, I'll probably just play Pearsall there. If he's not, I could still justify playing Pearsall in that circumstance, which I'll probably suggest just put him there for now. Let's see what Henderson's capable of week 1 on the bench. But if you wanted to play Henderson, I don't have an issue with that as your flex position. That's just really the toss-up. I'm not playing anybody else in your lineup in that position of flex. It's either Pearsall or Henderson, and for right now, I'm leaning towards Pearsall. Thank you. Neil D sends in a question. Thank you very much, Neil. I appreciate it. Neil says the following. In a 12-team full PPR, I have Herbie and Caleb Williams, Puka, Hill, Worthy, Olave, and Diggs, Gibbs, Kamara, Brees, Ingram. Thoughts, should I drop a quarterback for Fields? No, I don't think you need to drop a quarterback for Fields. I think you're going to play Caleb here this week, as I don't really love the matchup. I don't really love the matchup for Herbie going into Sao Paulo. Against that Chiefs defense, I don't love it. So I'm playing Caleb this week. I think your wide receivers are fantastic with Puka, Hill, Worthy, and the potential of Olave and Diggs, obviously, in a couple of weeks, building momentum there. Gibbs, Kamara are your 1-2. Brees Hall as the number 3, and your potential flex is fantastic. I think you're fine. I don't really have to make any moves in this circumstance. You could pick up Fields, but in this same instance, you don't have to. I think you're fine as is with this current circumstance. All right, really quickly before we continue, how long have we been here for? We've been live streaming here for about 30 minutes. Again, I'll probably be here answering questions for another, 20 to 30 minutes until probably almost 10:30 p.m. PST. Do appreciate y'all coming through. Obviously, tonight's game was very interesting, but hopefully we can learn from it and continue to build upon this fantasy football season. You got to remember, it's a marathon, right? We have a 17-week marathon, and we haven't even finished week 1. We're only one game into the season, so do not overreact, do not over-prepare, do not, get yourself into a position to where you're losing your mind. Darren was saying, what's up with the commercials every 35 seconds? That's got to be a you thing, because I'm not even touching anything. I'm not sending any commercials. I don't know what that is, brother. YouTube is hunting you, Darren. I don't know what to tell you. I have no clue, man. I have no clue. Hennessy Black. Okay, we took care of your question. Oh, no, we didn't take care of your question. Let's check this out really quickly. All right, Hennessy says, start quarterback in a 4-point per passing touchdown league. We have Fields, we have Bryce Young, we have Trevor Lawrence or Jordan Love. I'm playing Trevor Lawrence there very confidently. Thank you. Starting Jacobs, Pollard, Nico, Hill, Tyler Warren, Metcalf, and David Montgomery, or Golden. If it's a half PPR, I don't mind the idea of playing Montgomery. I think I think that there's a lot of potential for Golden to potentially outscore David Montgomery. But if Montgomery falls into the end zone, which we know that he's all very much so capable of accomplishing, he most likely outscores Golden. But as of right now, if it's like a full PPR league, I'm playing Golden there at the flex with Lawrence there at your QB, Hennessy. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. Fred sends in a question. Says Golden, Egbuka, or McMillan. The way that I would go about it is I'd start McMillan number 1, Egbuka 2, Golden 3. That's the order in which I approach that, Fred. Thank you very much. Ollie sends in a question. Thank you, Ollie. Says, what's your opinion about the Christian McCaffrey situation? As of right now, I'd like to wait and see. That I'm playing it patiently. I'm not trying to, jump at a conclusion as of yet until I can get a clear understanding as to what tomorrow's practice report entails. That'll give me an indication as to the severity of the injury. Because again, this is something that was very much so out of the blue. This is not something that occurred on a Wednesday practice or was even designated before Wednesday practice. This was only inferenced or implied as of today. So this occurred today. And once we see his participation of practice tomorrow, that'll give us an indication as to what we should do with Christian McCaffrey or what we can anticipate. Until then, I'm not making any bold moves. If someone in your league wants to take him off of your hands because you don't have Brian Robinson Jr., fantastic. Let's go ahead and move him for, one of the top tier running backs. But in the event in which, again, you cannot move him because everybody is afraid, which, again, I don't blame people for being afraid, just play it patiently. Play it very patiently. We're not trying to make any bold moves. We're not trying to make any swift decisions until we get all the proper information, available. Again, a calf injury, like I mentioned earlier on in this stream, very much so worrisome because calf injury equals potential Achilles injury. And all season last year, he was dealing with Achilles tendonitis. So those are as bad as it gets. If you guys remember this time last year, they were talking about, he's got a calf strain. To which it turned into an Achilles strain, right? So very reminiscent of that. So obviously, again, I don't want to jump to any conclusions. I don't want to panic yet. I just want to wait and see what tomorrow's practice report looks like and what his status for Sunday looks like. Dave14 sends in a question, says, hey, Andrew, I'm in a full PPR Superflex League. I got Josh Allen, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, Tedero McMillan, Alvin Kamara, Amarion Hampton, Njoku, Pearsall, and Joe Burrow. Cameron Dicker, and the Kansas City defense. My bench consists of Braylon Allen, Tank Bigsby, Josh Downs, Brian Robinson. Thoughts? I think you got a fantastic team. For a full PPR super flex format, I don't know if you could have built it any better. With the triple wide receiver stack that you have, with the running back potential, the tight end, I think this is, legitimately, I'm not even trying to overhype this team. When you have Josh Allen and Joe Burrow in a super flex format and you're still able to come away with that kind of level of talent at the alternative positions, I think that's a really strong team that, again, is going to be carried by quarterback, and that's the difference maker. When you don't have to start Geno Smith or Bryce Young every week, that is the difference maker as to whether or not you win or lose these weeks, because you're going to have the services of a Josh Allen, Joe Burrow that are going to play all 17 games for you and dominate. All right, really quickly, before we continue on, quick reminder, again, besides answering questions here, because I do see many of you answering questions, I will be back tomorrow prior to the game of the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. So I will be live streaming here on the channel tomorrow if you have any questions, and I'm not able to get to your question today. If you want potentially your questions answered prior to that, and or if you want my all-encompassing rankings by position, by tier, half PPR, full PPR, for, as of right now, going into tomorrow's games or Sunday's games, you can always check out the Patreon. That is something that is available for those of you who are interested, in which you can get rankings every Sunday and Thursday of every week for half PPR, full PPR, all-encompassing rankings for each position, including flex. You can get community Discord server access that is exclusive to the Patreon. And of course, I'll answer your questions through the Discord messaging system. But again, if you only want Sunday morning rankings, you don't want to have to pay for the subscription service of a Patreon, you can always check out Betr. It's a very simple situation to where you click on the link down below using code Andrew, make that first time deposit minimum of 10, and then all you have to do is make a first time play minimum of $1 within one of your $10 that was deposited. Because as of right now, technically, if you do sign up, you get a free $10, but you have to use one of the deposited $10 to be able to get onto my email list, to which I'll send you emails every single Sunday morning with updated rankings ready to go to try to help you set your lineup so that you don't have to get through the shuffle of, asking questions in a live stream chat for 2 hours, 3 hours on a Sunday morning. You'll have those rankings ready to go. So if you're interested, of course, be sure to go ahead, take advantage of that. More information down below. And of course, the map that I demonstrated here kind of determines your eligibility based on your current location, whether you can take advantage of this opportunity and, of course, make some plays via Betr. Thank you. All right. We had a question that came in from To The Max. To The Max, glad to see you here. Long time no see. I hope you had a great offseason. He says, "Sup, Andrew? In a 12-team full PPR standard league, flex draft consisted of Burrows. We have Gibbs. We have Achane, JSN, Sutton, Pearsall, okay, Kincaid, Aubrey. Bench is Fields, Braylon Allen, Bigsby, Blue, Rashee Rice, and Goddard. Thoughts?" As a whole, I'm pretty confident with the team. I think the tight end position is your biggest question mark on paper. Everything else, I have no issue with at all. I think you got studs at every other position. I think determining whether Goddard or Kincaid can start every single week is going to be the biggest question as of right now. And once you're able to kind of consistently answer that and play the matchups correctly, or potentially hit the waiver wire in the coming weeks with ascending talent that comes out of nowhere, just like every single season. We remember this time last year, guys like, Cade Otton, Tucker Kraft, coming out of the blue and performing well after a Luke Musgrave injury, after a Chris Godwin injury. Of course, those players ascended, so give it some time. And even if your tight end talent doesn't sit in a current position to where you're really confident with it, I think on paper, in time, as we hit the waiver wire, as we make trades, as injuries take place, you're going to be in a position to where, of course, you'll be able to kind of ascend and make that position whole. Okay, we continue on to a question that comes in from Twisted Folk. Twisted, I hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for the super. It says, in a half PPR 6-point per passing touchdown league, we have Burrow, we have Sutton, we have Ted McMillan. Okay, very good. We have Gibbs, Jacobs, McBride. Damn, sheesh. Guys, how do we do this? How do we get Gibbs, Jacobs, McBride, Ted McMillan? Yeah, no, actually it makes sense. I can see the order. And you still got Burrow. Man, that is, well done. That's all I have to say. Well done. Flex consists of Hampton, Golden, or Tracy. Wow, okay. Good to know. Says, if Christian McCaffrey is out, does it lower your Purdy ranking? I think it effectively will, because again, with less of a receiving threat out of the backfield, the easy yards that Purdy would have usually gotten are pretty much essentially gone. But what Purdy was able to accomplish last season in the absence of McCaffrey was rushing upside. He scrambled more than he ever has in his career, which is a feature of him that we really don't usually kind of rely upon, but it is something that we have certainly learned to love as of the last season. But as of right now, everything is under examination. Once we get a clear understanding of Christian McCaffrey's status, I will construct the rankings. I will recategorize everything to where the projections will entail a missing McCaffrey or a limited McCaffrey, depending on where we end up. And then at that point, those rankings that I send out or post on Patreon will be ready to go. Whether I send it to you on Betr or whether I post it on Patreon, they'll be ready to go for Sunday morning. Now, as for your flex question, Hampton, Golden, Tracy. If we're talking about a full PPR league, actually, no, you're in a half PPR. I'm going to play Tracy there, to be honest, this week. It's Tracy, Hampton, Golden in that order. Thank you. James Brown sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR 12-team league, we've got Nix, Achane, Chase Brown, Nico, Evans, Tyler Warren, Pollard, Ridley, Rashee Rice, Bigsby, and Romeo Doubs on the bench. Rate my team, please. Yeah, look, as a whole, I think your starters are fantastic, right? When you have Achane, Chase Brown, Nico, Evans, Nix, I'm very happy with that. Tyler Warren, obviously on paper right now, a to-be-determined kind of player. We are expecting him to play great considering the talent he is, but Daniel Jones is going to be the, really the gatekeeper of his upside. Pollard and Ridley are both going to be fantastic this year considering the quarterback upgrade. Rashee Rice, once he returns, is going to be great. Bigsby, in my mind, is one of the better lottery tickets that you can have on your bench this season because not only does he not only is he someone that you can wait on because of where you drafted him, but additionally, he's going to get reps in week 1, and he could win the job if he's efficient enough. So we'll wait and we'll see. Otherwise, pretty happy with how that looks, man. Pretty happy. Alrighty, we had a question from Magic Bell who says, my thoughts. First thought on Najee over Ramondre, but all the rankings have Ramondre over Najee Harris. Yeah, look, this is the way that we would assume that Najee Harris is going to be utilized. Again, a lot of what fantasy football is, or football is in general, is looking to the past to kind of give us a sense of what the future can entail, right? And that's why we look at the tendencies of coaching staffs and play calling tendencies and formation use and all this kind of jazz, right? Personnel usage. We utilize that in order to try to give us an understanding as to what we could potentially project to see in the future. So in the case of a Najee Harris, right, he would be most comparatively known to being within a backfield of this current capacity of an Omarion Hampton, where they utilize first-round draft capital for him. He would be the Gus Edwards of this offense if we were to compare it to the Chargers of 2024, as Dobbins was the clear number 1 come week 1. So that's going to be Omarion Hampton, the clear number 1. Najee Harris, the number 2 as a Gus Edwards. And if we remember last season, just to pull it up for the sake of clarity, Gus Edwards last year, in games in which, again, he was healthy, he was active. Week 1, 11 rushing attempts. That's a pretty solid number. Fantastic. Week 2, 18 rushing attempts. Okay, they won 26-3. A one-sided affair with majority of those rushing attempts were in the second half. But eventually, after that week 2 performance, from where we saw J.K. Dobbins continue to expand upon his greatness, 3 rushing attempts the next week, 6 the next week, then 10, then 6, then 9, then 6, then 10. Eventually, we get to a point to where he is pretty much a 6 to 10 attempt running back, to which I think that's what Najee Harris is going to be, 6 to 10 rushing attempts. So if you average a solid 4.5 yards per carry on 10 attempts, you get a 45-yard running back, 4.5 points. Do you get rushing touchdowns? Unlikely. Do you get receiving work? Unlikely. Do you get to see him on third down pass block? Most likely, but that's not what's going to score you fantasy points. So what Ramondre can provide is the potential of a running back that may get 10 rushing attempts, may have very similar kind of yard per carry averages, but I think he is more implied for a goal line rushing role. I think he's more implied for an early down workload that could even expand beyond 6 to 10 rushing attempts as we continue forward. So that's kind of how I think about it. Also, been on for 10 minutes, only have skipped one ad. Okay, yeah. Again, I don't really set the ads. Like, the YouTube system kind of runs it itself. It's like an automated system where it just like, hey, we're going to run ads because if we don't, then you're not allowed to be on the platform kind of thing. But anyway, hopefully it's not too encumbering. If it is, then maybe I can look into potentially removing that altogether so it's not too much of a problem for you guys. Sorry if it is. All right, Caramels sends in a question. Says, hey, Andrew, one flex in a half PPR. Pearsall versus Aaron Jones. Really good question. Really good question. Let's see where I have the one and only Pearsall kind of half PPR. Aaron Jones. Okay, so Aaron Jones sits there. I have Ricky Pearsall 2 spots ahead of him. Ricky Pearsall is my number 51. Aaron Jones is my number 53 and a half PPR. So I would rather play Pearsall there under the assumption that, again, everything kind of is expected to go as such. Now, again, the main reason why I'm a little bit low on Aaron Jones, despite how well he played last season against the Chicago Bears, I do expect the Chicago Bears defense to play better because I expect the offense to hold the ball more. I don't expect a lot of 3 and outs. I expect situations in which, again, this should be a little bit more of a competitive matchup. And additionally, I do expect a lot of Jordan Mason here in week 1. Very similar to, like I just mentioned, regarding a Najee Harris or Ramondre Stevenson, 6 to 10 rushing attempts with the ability to get even more workload as we proceed. Let's see here. We had a question from Magic Bell as a follow. Oh, actually, before I get to Magic, let's just answer this question. I felt like Trevion Henderson scared me more than Omarion Hampton. That's an interesting take. That is a very interesting take. I can understand that. But you got to remember, like, Ramondre Stevenson over the course of the last 2 seasons, I understand he's been a fumbling machine and he can definitely revert back to that and he can lose his job immediately. But he's also played within, 2 of the worst offenses in the NFL over the course of the last 2 years as a part of the New England Patriots with some of the worst offensive line play we've ever seen. So Maybe with an improvement to OC, improvement to the scheme, improvement to the offensive line, the coaching staff, the culture, the everything, maybe he's better. Maybe he just improves as a player. But yeah, I can understand the threat of Trevion Henderson being a little bit more impactful than Hampton. But honestly, at the same time, I don't see it because I don't think Najee's all that. Alrighty, let's see here. We had a question from Abram. Thank you very much, Abram. Says, is Mahomes stacked with Worthy full PPR worth it? I mean, listen, this is the thing about Mahomes. At any given moment, the guy could score, 1 touchdown and 14 fantasy points, or he can throw 3 touchdowns and score 20 plus, 20 plus, 21 plus fantasy points. As for Worthy this week, I've moved him up considerably in comparison to where I had him on Tuesday's wide receiver rankings. I currently have him as my number 16 wide receiver. So like number 14 is Ladd, number 15 is Tedero McMillan. Then I've moved Worthy to number 16. I got JSN at 17, McLaurin 18. So he's within that kind of a range to where, again, he still does have relatively solid value to where we are absolutely firing him up. Now, am I super excited about playing Mahomes tomorrow? I'm not super excited about it because, I haven't really, if he scores 2 to 3 touchdowns, I'll be like, whew, thank goodness he did that because that's what I expect, right? Like that's his base floor. That's what Mahomes should do. But fingers crossed he could put up an upside performance, get a little bit more rushing upside maybe within the matchup. Fingers crossed. Alrighty. Golden Tate or Calvin Ridley in full PPR? You mean Matthew Golden, right? Not Golden Tate, right? Surely that's what you meant. I don't know if that's what you meant. Andrew, what are we thinking about Blue? Okay, so the current thought process about Jaden Blue. I need to, after this live stream, which is going to end in about 15 minutes here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rewatch the game from today just to kind of give myself an understanding as to like some of the potential plays, some of the extra value that we may see, what exactly happened to Mr. AJ Brown, all that kind of jazz. I have the NFL Plus app so I can watch the all 22 cam and see what happened over the top of the defense from the end zone cam, which is obviously helpful. But in regards to Blue, depending on whether or not Miles Sanders got another touch for the remainder of the game after he fumbled is very important. I think that could be a shift as to whether or not Miles Sanders gets more looks going forward and whether or not Blue's going to be a healthy scratch. In the event in which Blue is a healthy scratch for another consecutive week, then he's probably a droppable candidate to where, I'd even be willing to drop him right now for Ollie Gordon just for the sake of having somebody of a lottery ticket that could give me some value come this weekend, like a Chris Rodriguez Jr. and Ollie Gordon, a Dylan Sampson, anybody like that shouldn't be available in a deeper league. Please do yourself a favor and pick them up. Alrighty, let's see here. Donald, yes, I hear you, brother. I hear you. Son of a God sends in a question, says Travis Hunter or Aaron Jones. I think it depends on scoring format. If we're going to play in a half PPR, I'd probably just play Aaron Jones there. If we're playing in a full PPR, I think I'm pretty comfortable going with Travis Hunter there this week. Freddie, what's up, man? Ricky, number 1 in San Francisco? Absolutely number 1 in San Francisco, without a doubt in my mind. Even with Juwan Jennings returning, you got to remember, the entire offense is kind of, Ricky Pearsall has a specific role within the offense. He has a specific kind of functionality to which they are designing plays to get him open. And that is something that they made apparent last season in week 17 and 18. And I think this year they're going to expound upon that and really give us a little bit of a CMC or Marlon Mack. Listen, Marlon Mack was good back then. Okay, let's not get it twisted. Prior to JT coming in, do you guys remember Jonathan Taylor's rookie year? What was it, 2020? Marlon Mack was technically the starter week 1. And until he tore his Achilles, we were like, okay, we're going to have to wait until, Jonathan Taylor's able to outplay Nyheim Hines and Marlon Mack to come out of, the woodwork. But it took 1 week. The Achilles blew out. And, of course, Jonathan Taylor, the rest was history as he was a top 10 running back year 1. So if you're implying Marlon Mack Achilles to Christian McCaffrey, how dare you, sir? But at the same time, I get it. Good luck sends in a super chat, says another season, Andrew. That's right. Rate my team out of 10. Okay, if you want me to give you an actual physical score, I can, but there's no rookie numbers here, right? This is like, we're taking one bite. Everybody knows the rules kind of deal here. So no rookie numbers. I'll give you a decimal point afterward. Just got to see your team. Let me go ahead and let me find it real quick here. All right, good luck. You said, my team consists of a full PPR, Josh Allen, Puka Nacua, Tyreek Hill, Cortland Sutton, Pearsall, Gibbs, Kamara, Montgomery. I don't like the idea of having both Montgomery and Gibbs, but at the same time, for the sake of handcuff purposes, okay, understandable. More power to you. Tyler Warren, we have Caleb Johnson, Trevor Lawrence, Keon Coleman, Evan McPherson's my kicker, and the Eagles and Bills defense are currently in position. Okay. Look, if I was to give you a score out of 10, considering the Gibbs, Kamara, Puka, Josh Allen, Tyreek Sutton. I mean, look, what's a 10 out of 10 team? 10 out of 10 team is like an unattainable team, right? So if this is the case, I would say we're looking at like a 9.1. Because really, I don't see holes in your team. You have Gibbs and Kamara that in a full PPR are both top 12. You have Kamara, you have Josh Allen, the best quarterback in fantasy. And then you also on top of it have 3 pretty solid wide receivers. Puka, who could very easily finish as number 1. Tyreek, who could very easily finish as a top 5. Sutton, who could very easily finish as a top 12. So I don't really see it as I think you're in a pretty good spot there, man. Really good spot. Flo in the chat was saying, yo, Andrew, in a 6-point per passing touchdown league, Herbert or Love? Thanks, homie. As of right now, I'm going to lean towards playing Jordan Love there, assuming Jaden Reed is available for the matchup. In the event in which Jaden Reed does not practice tomorrow, I'll just fire up Herbert there tomorrow. Alfredo says, Jose, just sign up with... Okay, thanks, man. Okay, Anonymous says, I need a trash tight end. Sanders, Freiermuth, Schultz, or Waller? That's a good question. I think Schultz has already proven from last season that he can't be relied upon, mainly because, again, you got to remember, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and Stephon Diggs all missed time last season, and Schultz couldn't even surpass tight end 22. So, not interested there. Between Waller, Sanders, and Freiermuth, Sanders is not somebody that we're 100% in on just yet. He's a kind of wait and buy time on until we get an understanding as to how much usage he'll see. Freiermuth and Waller, I mean, I don't even think he's healthy. I don't even know if he practiced today, guys. He's dealing with a hip injury, which is obviously very, not much of a surprise. I'll just put it that way. It's just, it's on brand for Darren Waller's career, unfortunately. Very much so, has been injury riddled with so much talent. Darren Waller, as of Wednesday, did not practice Thursday. I don't have an official report from the team's website, but I can probably go find a writer and or reporter that can give me a little bit more insight on the matter. Give me a moment to just cross-reference this. And I'll tell you right now what his status looks like. Darren Waller, when was this reported? Thursday, not seen practicing. So Darren Waller's not playing this week. So under that assumption, it's a Freiermuth kind of play. Thanks, man. Hunter or Golden, and why? Hunter or Golden? As of right now in a full PPR, I've got Hunter one spot ahead of Golden. 28 compared to my number 29. I think he's going to get such a high volume of usage because of how this Liam Cohen offense functions. And considering they're playing against the Carolina Panthers, that again, I understand that they've brought in 5 new starters, but even the players that they have brought in, I don't really have much faith in. Like, maybe they'll be able to stop the run better, but does that mean that their coverage is going to improve? I don't really see any difference makers there outside of a JC Horn, but even in that circumstance, he's had his struggles over his career. So right now, I'm thinking both are great plays. If Reed doesn't play, Golden is implicated for more opportunity, but Hunter, I think, is the play in a full PPR there, Freddie. Thoughts on Loveland? We're fingers crossed for a touchdown. I think that is his value. He needs to score a touchdown week 1. Otherwise, considering we're not 100% certain as to what kind of an opportunity share he is going to be possessing in week 1, what kind of a target count that he will see, until we can get a clear indication as to what that number looks like, it's more of a let's wait and see situation with him. Like, as it stands in my full PPR rankings, let me see where I have him. Can I open this? Thank you. Like, in a full PPR, I have Loveland as my tight end 15. Like, I'm not like over the moon about his potential, because we know that in order to be a top 12 tight end for fantasy, you have to score touchdowns. You just have to. That's just how this works. Year over year, about 8 of the 12 tight ends on a weekly basis on average accompany their performance with a touchdown. So you have to score. Now, again, in order to score, you got to get into the red zone. The offense has to effectively move the ball. And I think the Caleb Williams-led Ben Johnson iteration of this offense should be able to do so. But I think once we have a full week of a kind of an understanding as to him and, Komet, their usage, how much 12 personnel we're going to play, who's going to be running more routes, who's going to be left inside for those checkdowns. Once that kind of displays itself and we have an understanding, I think we'll have a better idea as to what we could do with him in the future weeks. But I think he's far too talented, and you don't utilize first round draft capital on a tight end to just leave him on the bench or to leave him, lacking targets. I think you draft him because you know exactly what you're going to do with him. You have schemed, hey, you know what? If I had a talent like that, hey, GM, if I had a talent like this, I would take over the league. All right, let's go draft him in the first round. Boom, let's go make the play. I survived facing Barkley tonight. Yeah, you survived because Jalen Hurts let you survive. That's what Jalen Hurts is like, you know what? Let me score 2 rushing touchdowns. Let me just, take it upon myself to save everybody. Or if you're playing against them, hurt you so dearly with his rushing upside. I'm curious, how many points did Mr. Jalen Hurts have today? Let me go look at one of my leagues here. He had about 24.28. Yeah, I mean, again, that's a signature 19 of 23 passing. That's what it looks like when you don't take any deep shots. God, he took 1 deep shot. Great. To Jahan Dotson. How is Jahan Dotson getting more receptions than A.J. Brown? What a world this is. We love it. We love it. All right. So again, I'm going to be closing out today's live stream in about 5 minutes. I do appreciate y'all coming through. Again, if you guys want to get your questions answered, you can find the Patreon link down in the description. If that's not something that you're interested in, of course, I'll be back here tomorrow prior to the kickoff of the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. Again, I'll be back tomorrow night after that game. I'll be back on Saturday afternoon at about 1 p.m. PST answering questions here on the channel for about 2 hours. And I'll be back on Sunday morning. As you guys know, every Sunday morning from 7 to 10 a.m. PST, I'm here on the channel. Now, when we have London games, I'm here from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. PST for 4 hours. There is going to be a lot of questions answered, and hopefully whether I answer your question directly or indirectly, we can get you on the right track if something like Betr sign up for the Sunday morning rankings or the Patreon is not of interest. Or if, of course, I'm not able to get to your question here on a live stream. Do appreciate your guys' support. It is greatly appreciated as you guys continue to stick alongside of me as we are one step closer to achieving our goal of 100K subscribers, guys. Thank you very much. All right, let's see here. Captain Moistbeard says, okay, he's talking to somebody else. Never mind. Everybody's talking to somebody else here. Rogo says, I drafted Geno to stack him in case something happens to Daniels, which I'm thinking of dropping Shaheed for Keenan Allen. I mean, I'm not dropping Shaheed for Keenan Allen because I kind of want to wait and see what Shaheed is going to do. Because if you guys remember, Rashid Shaheed early last season, an absolutely dynamic deep threat. And if it wasn't for the 2 games in which he, dropped major touchdowns, the guy would have been easily top 24 in the first 6 weeks of the season, if not top 12. That's how good of production he was putting forth. So he's got a lot of talent coming off of the injury. He's kind of slept upon. That's why I said Dotson is this year's Mooney. You're trolling, dude. You're trolling. The offense doesn't throw the ball. They threw the ball 23 times today, okay? There's no Mooney in that offense outside of Mr. Devontae Smith. All right, let's see here. Caleb C says, Jonathan Taylor appreciation post. Take away his 3 best and 3 worst games, and he's top 7 running back in the worst offense in the league. Worst offense in the league is a very, very... It's a narrative shifting comment. Because how do you determine where you are in terms of offense in the league? Right? Like, are we saying like total points per game scored? Because if we're talking about total touchdowns scored as an offense, they are in the middle of the pack. They are not the worst offense in the league. The worst offense in the league last season wasn't close. It was Cleveland. They couldn't score to save any. I mean, they scored 258 points as a team last year. So again, I understand the appreciation for Jonathan Taylor. Trust me, I appreciate him just as much as anybody when he's healthy. But that's the thing. When you take away performances, when you give a performance, when you take away, that's all great. But is he playing for my team more than 15 games this year? That's what I want to know. Is he going to have an IR stint? Because if he hits the IR at any point, he's doing a lot of damage to me as well. Are we overreacting on A.J. Brown, or was it game script weird? I mean, I don't think the game script was weird. I just think that Jalen Hurts was looking to run the ball. That's just it. He was very much so in a position to where he didn't like what he was seeing. Again, once I look at the different camera angles, I'll get an idea as to whether or not Diggs was locking him down the whole day. But we'll see. I mean, it seemed like usually, okay, hear me out. Usually, we have at least 1 to 2 grabs from AJ Brown early in the game. Because if you don't feed your number 1 wide receiver like that, AJ Brown, we've seen it in years past. The guy gets a book, he goes, sits down on the sideline and reads for half of the game, right? Like or is that DK Metcalf? I don't know which wide receiver did that last year, but somebody does that. Anyway, Eagles had the fewest passing attempts in the NFL last year. I don't know how you draft AJ Brown. Let me tell you how you draft AJ Brown. The guy averaged 15 fantasy points per game each of the last 3 seasons. So that's how you draft AJ Brown. So when you score a high volume of fantasy points, regardless of what offense you're associated with, you hit your wagon to studs like that. Ingram or Loveland in a full PPR, very much so comfortable with playing Ingram there. Do you think HM will play? Yes, he will play. Again, he was interviewed yesterday, and he did say that it was a precautionary measure. He's really 100% ready to go. So all things should be pointing towards a full usage on Sunday against the Colts. Okay, guys, that's where I'm going to call it. I do appreciate y'all coming through. Again, if you guys want to ask me individual questions, all that kind of jazz, you can check out the Patreon, check out the Betr sign up, all that information down below for the remainder of the season. These are things that you can benefit from. But outside of that, have a great rest of your night. Love y'all. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cue the one and only double helix. I'll probably fast forward away, maybe like halfway through it. I'll see you guys. Peace.